Hello again, I'm Tripp Rogers, along with the Hall of Famer Mike Sheck, and we are the Fantasy Sultans. Well, here we are. This podcast will drop on the day of the NFL season beginning. It is the Kansas City Chiefs and the Detroit Lions that have the honors of playing the first game. Kansas City, of course, being the title holder. And, you know, the Detroit Lions are a sexy choice this year in the NFC North since Aaron Rodgers has left the building. But Mike, the big story coming into this game is the injury received by Travis Kelce, a hyperextended knee. And this has got to make folks who took Kelce in the first round of their drafts, like you, in one of the drafts, a little bit nervous.
Well, the injury happened on Tuesday, so that gave anybody who has a draft Tuesday night, Wednesday, are able to compensate for this. If they're looking at Kelce, they had the opportunity to possibly look at getting a second tight end early. I mean, and you and I talked about this. I said that was the move. You have to get a tight end sooner if you were wanting to consider Travis Kelce, because again, who knows what's going to happen with the injury. And whether or not, age is a factor. He's going to be 34. And do you want to risk a player who now had suffered this injury, not significant, doesn't appear, but again, do you want to roll the dice on this player the whole season? And, I ended up drafting Kelce in one of the leagues on Monday night. So the injury happened on Tuesday, but I had a second tight end, Chico Quantico in Tennessee, who's a solid pick, I think, by the way. Round 10, took him. And for certain, I know that I can rely on him if Kelce's not going to be available any week.
The one good thing about the Kelce injury, and obviously we're going to know this Thursday because Thursday night the game is going to be played. So if for some reason you have Travis Kelce and have only one tight end on your roster, you'll be able to pick up another tight end at some point over the weekend on the waiver wire. Most, I want to say probably all leagues have some type of waivers that will clear on Saturday in time for your game on Sunday. Speaking of speaking of drafts, as we talked about, one of the things which I think we have discovered and we were surprised at, but maybe not as surprised, we had 3 drafts this week, and in every draft, Patrick Mahomes went 1, 1, 2.
Yes.
In those 3 drafts. And I really don't think that is a surprise because there is a big value on quarterback play and quarterbacks. And we kind of recognized it and we adjusted, because if you remember last week, we said, if you're not going to get one of the big 3s, you can wait and probably mid-round and you can get somebody there. Well, I think you and I both said we're throwing that book out the window because we have seen it happen so many times. 6 quarterbacks in the first 2 rounds, 7 over 3. That's a lot. Now, again, part of this is in the drafts we're talking about, Mike, we were on one end of the draft. We were not, we were on an end. When I say an end, 1 through 4, 6 through, or excuse me, 9 through 12. And when you're on an end, you do have a couple of picks close together. So again, you got to play that strategy, but you've got to recognize when the runs are coming. And that was really important. If for some reason you haven't had a draft yet, I mean, that's something that is a huge key. And quarterbacks this year, the run on quarterbacks, just, again, this is something that is unprecedented, but again, it's not really surprising. And, we jumped on that quarterback run. And the one thing also we had said, if you have a quarterback with an early bye, you got to think about getting a second quarterback. Otherwise, don't worry about it. Well, in one draft, I had Daniel Jones. He's got a week 13 bye. Don't have to worry. In another draft, I picked up Daniel Jones as my second quarterback to Justin Herbert. Not bad. Not bad. And I got Justin again in our fantasy Sultans draft. So I got no complaints. I want to pick up Daniel Jones as my backup once again, and somebody snaked me on that pick. The person before me took Daniel Jones, and I was like, So I ended up with your boy, Bryce Young, quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. I took him in the last.
Not a bad pick there.
No, he was Mr. Irrelevant, but I was looking again, week 5, I think his matchup is favorable. And it was either him or Sam Howell. I couldn't think of who I was going to take. But as we always say, there were a lot of head scratchers, a lot of questions, a lot of questionable picks.
I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers before Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. We saw that in our draft, the Sultans League. I know a lot of people are on the bandwagon for Aaron Rodgers. He's getting a lot of play with being on Hard Knocks. The Jets are getting a lot of attention. They're huge favorites in the AFC East to make some noise and be contenders in the AFC. And, a lot of people are riding it. They like the moves that the Jets have made in the offseason. Dalvin Cook bringing in some wide receivers for Rodgers so he can get going. And, just a lot of things going the Jets' way. The Jets, Robert Saleh, he is a 49ers, comes from the 49ers, and their defense is getting better and better too. So, I mean, the Jets are definitely a team that, you can't go wrong with Rodgers, but selecting him before like Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, those type quarterbacks, I question that move. And I wonder, again, we questioned Jalen Hurts last year being taken in round 3. And we were like, what? This is a head scratcher. So maybe we're missing something here with Rodgers. Maybe there is something like, but again, Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence and those guys.
All right. I want to throw there is a bias. Okay. I don't think it's the Hard Knocks bias, but again, the
local aspect,
local aspect of it. And I think that's a part of this, because somebody locally is thinking about that, and they are, and that is it. And that's one of the reasons why you'd pull the trigger on an Aaron Rodgers. But the 2 head scratcher moves that I'm really lost on. Number 1, somebody picked Brock Purdy last night in the 6th round. And
5th or 6th, yeah.
This was eons before he should have gone. And then tonight, in our Sultans draft, somebody picked Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, Jimmy Garoppolo, good quarterback. Not going to deny that. But there were, I want to say, 15 quarterbacks in front of him on the depth chart, and you don't know with Jimmy G's injury history how good he's going to be, and whether or not he can stay upright with that Vegas team. Now, again, those were a couple of the moves that just really kind of made me wonder. I mean, you always have a couple of those draft choices that just you wonder what they're thinking, but one of the other interesting moves, and this was something that you and I have discussed a little bit, but one of the teams in a draft we had earlier this week, he did not take a tight end or a quarterback until I think it was round 11 or 12. He just loaded up on wide receivers and running backs. And then I think he took two quarterbacks, one tight end, a kicker, and a defense. And I was just kind of astonished by that, because while that strategy might have worked or might work, and he was the last guy to take a quarterback. So, by then everybody but by that point, some people had 2 quarterbacks, and I think there are a couple of people who took a third.
Yeah, if you're taking a defense before a quarterback, I think your team's going to be in trouble. That's a big question mark. I don't even think he took a tight end either, and I think that's an issue. If you're not taking a quarterback or tight end, and you're taking a defense ahead of those two big positions, your team's not going to fare well.
Oh, most definitely. So, but again, we say this every year, and we just kind of wonder. And I guess we gotta get our little, or we have our axe to grind, because you get these grades from all the hosting sites have them. They give you grades after the draft, and we got absolutely destroyed one of the drafts on Yahoo, and you took it on the chin on another Yahoo draft. But I'm sitting there and I'm going, I thought you had a great draft. I thought it was solid. And I'm like, are you kidding me? And then, what the guy we were talking about, his draft was awful. And then there was a guy who auto picked, and his draft was awful. Listen, folks, I'm telling you this right now. If you're putting money into a fantasy football league, do not auto draft. Do not auto draft unless you are in the hospital having a ruptured appendix and having an operation, because it is the surest way to, I'm not going to say you're going to lose, but you're going to be behind the eight ball. And the other problem with auto picks is they'll give you two defenses or two kickers, and you don't need two of those. Trust me on that one. So anyhow, we move forward now. Our favorite segment of the show, import exports. Importer, exporter, import exports. We're not going to have any exports this week, because really, we haven't started yet, but we'll have to deal with imports. And obviously, Mike, I think one of the things we're going to say is you're going to want to, I think with the Kelsey situation, I think tight end is going to be a big thing on the waiver wire, and people are going to go looking for a tight end to match with him or to pick up some of the slack. So who are your suggestions?
Well, I'll tell you, if you want to start with tight end, Noah Fant, now not taken in every single league. He was taken in the Fantasy Sultans League by, yes, your daughter who loves Seattle. She took a bunch of Seattle players, and, can't go wrong with it, but she's going to suffer when Seattle is on a bye.
Is going to be her Waterloo.
That is going to be tough. But yeah, Noah Fant, somebody to look at for tight end. Hunter Henry, Hayden Hurst in Carolina, Irv Smith Jr. for Cincinnati, and Michael Mayer for Las Vegas. Those are the ones that stood out to me that were not drafted in a lot of leagues. I'll tell you who else stood out to me, and that's Matt Stafford. He went undrafted in one league. In another league that we saw him go early, and we questioned that. But I seen him go in one league undrafted, and I know that there are a lot of question marks with the Rams. They don't have the offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown, anymore. He's off to Carolina. You got question marks with Cooper Kupp. Is he going to be the player that returns to rare form, or is he going to have that injury plague him all season long with the hamstring? Cam Akers, will he perform? How will Sean McVay and that Rams get going? They just struggled last year a lot. So I think there are big question marks there, but he's somebody to look at. Jordan Love is another quarterback to possibly look at, because he definitely was undrafted in a lot of leagues. We will be talking about these players in the upcoming weeks. Excuse me. But Jordan Love, I think a lot of people are throwing, as I mentioned on the show last week, a lot of people are throwing the towel in on Green Bay already because of Aaron Rodgers being gone. That shouldn't be the case. We need to see what happens with that offense, but certainly he does have some playmakers in that offense. He's got Aaron Jones. He's got A.J. Dillon. So they have the run game that will open up the play action pass for him. So I definitely think for certain, Jordan Love is somebody that is going to be available, and it could be a decent pickup if you need him down the line.
And you're talking about the Green Bay Packer offense. Christian Watson still good. Romeo Dobbs' injury may have cast, again, people are not high on him, and that could hurt him in fantasy drafts. But I agree, because I was thinking about Jordan Love as a backup quarterback. So you good point. While we're on the subject of quarterbacks, a name you may not want to kind of overlook if he is available on your waiver wire, and he is available in some leagues, C.J. Stroud for Houston. Listen, this Texans team, believe it or not, is not bad. This is a team that Rex Burkhead last year had some decent fantasy production with. And the quarterback situation was not good. C.J. Stroud is a step up for that. They've got some playmakers in Houston, and I think C.J. Stroud could be somebody you want to pick up if you're looking for a quarterback. Again, I'm talking quarterback right now. Going back to the tight end, I want to mention Jake Ferguson for Dallas. Dallas has a Sunday night matchup against the Giants, and again, if you're looking for a tight end, he's a guy who could be I'm going to say featured, but he's a guy, Dallas always comes up with this third wide receiver, second tight end out of the blue. And they always seem to go really well. And these are guys that can help you, not necessarily week in, week out, but spot starts. Here's a guy you want to maybe keep on in the back of your mind and think about him. And I want to throw one more, and I mentioned this, I think I mentioned this last week with Jacksonville, but Tank Bigsby, he is going to be a guy who is going to be good. And the other reason why I mentioned him is because he's a rookie. He's getting a lot of attention. And again, he's one of those guys who savvy fantasy football players are going to draft him. And again, he's a depth guy. But as the season goes on, as a rookie gets more experience, you might be surprised to see him work his way into the rotation. Remember, Travis Etienne has had some injury issues, and you got Trevor Lawrence there. And let's face it, Lawrence does so much with his legs and with his arm. You get Evan Ingram there too, Christian Kirk. But still, he's a guy you may want to think about. And again, these are guys who, if you're looking for someone, and if you're in a pinch, or if you have room, you may think about this. And something else I wanted to mention real quick, because this was one of the things that I kind of thought about, or one of the things I did. I drafted Jonathan Taylor. Now, Jonathan Taylor right now is on the PUP list, and he is out for 4 games minimum. Now, in a lot of leagues, and this happened when with COVID in 2020, a lot of leagues have now IR positions. And so I drafted Taylor, but in the back of my mind, I said, well, you know what I could do? I could put him on IR for 4 weeks, get somebody else in there. You got another body, another person. You could pick up somebody who you could stockpile or save. And then when Taylor is ready to come back, and there's no guarantees he's going to come back at week 4, they have a certain number of weeks to activate him off of the PUP list. But, that'll give you an extra player, an extra piece of the puzzle to play with. And more importantly, you get this uncovered or uncut gem or undiscovered gem, and it could turn out this guy could be great. And, when the time comes, maybe you say bye-bye to Taylor, although I don't think you're going to at this point, because I think Jonathan Taylor still has some value. But again, he went, what was it, round nine in the Sultans draft. I think he went round 10 in another draft we did, because, you don't know what you're going to get off of Jonathan Taylor. And again, Indianapolis, Richardson, they say great things about, but I'm still not sold on the cast of characters at Indianapolis.
Yeah, the as you mentioned, surrounding Indy is going to be difficult. I'm not a big fan of the Michael Pittman this year, the quarterback situation. And Anthony Richardson with the running game, maybe, but the passing game kind of struggles. He only played 13 games in college, so that has me a little bit worried. But for certain, Taylor is the biggest guy on my board that if he does play this year, the biggest value pick in the draft, biggest on the board, because you're talking about a player who should be drafted in the 3rd or 4th round, and to slip to round 9, 10, or even later is just huge value. You said it's a gem. I'm calling him a diamond, because I'll tell you what, biggest value on the board if he comes through. Now, again, big if, we don't know what's going to happen. Maybe he'll sit out the whole year, but you know what? Maybe you draft him at 9 or you draft him at 10. Okay. Draft him at 4, draft him at 3. No, because you're wasting a pick there. But later in the draft, why not? Why not take a flyer on him? And that's exactly what you did.
And the other thing also, and this is what you got to think about too, is could Taylor be traded at some point?
That's another option.
If he gets traded, depending on where he goes, it could be, hey, listen, I always think back to, remember the trade with Marshall Faulk, where he went from the Eric Dickerson, there's another one, but Marshall Faulk was traded midseason. Yeah. And it just breathed new life, and he just was on fire. Eric Dickerson was the other trade too. Eric Dickerson was the other trade I was thinking of too, but they were midseason moves. You don't see them that often in the NFL, but sometimes they're done, and boy, they pay dividends for teams. They really do. And again, if you're one of the smart people who, again, 10, as we said, value pick, it could be good. It's amazing. Hard to believe, but we're already in September. It's already time for football season. Fantasy Sultans are here to help you. We'll be here every week. You can see us now. Hopefully we will not scare anybody, your pets. Although I shouldn't say that. My dog is right next to me, believe it or not. But the Fantasy Sultans are here. We'll be doing the video podcast. We'll drop it every Thursday morning. So we'll get you set up for that Thursday game, that Thursday night game. And by the way, the funny observation that you see, somebody was looking at a schedule and said, how come nobody has a bye week 12? Thanksgiving weekend. Hello, McFly. Thanksgiving weekend. Yeah. And the other part of it is there are 3 Thanksgiving Day games. There is the Black Friday game now. And then you don't have that many Sunday. If you had a bye, you'd have a very low number of Sunday games. And I think that's why you have everybody playing that week, because it's also going to screw up the schedule, because I always thought it was really weird that they gave teams a bye that week, because some other teams would play short week, and then it's kind of like having a bye because they wouldn't have played the following Sunday.
And keep in mind, keep your calendar set for Thursdays for fantasy, because there's going to be 17 out of 18 weeks that games are played on Thursday. So do not forget that. You need your fantasy week starts with Thursday. I believe only week 18 has that those Sunday games at the final week of the season. I believe there is a game on week 17 on Thursday night, I believe. So you're right. You're right.
Is
the only week, I believe.
Yeah, week 18, but week 18 has it's interesting what they're doing with the schedule this year. I was looking at that today. There are the NFL, the way they've set it up, week 18 is there are 2 Saturday games, and there's a possibility of I think there's like 3 or 4 that it could be. And then you play Sunday. The week before, you have 3 Saturday games, and there's like 5 possibilities. So there are 5 games that could be flexed into those positions. And then you also have, I think the week before you is New Year's, and then the week before that you have Christmas, and you have the Christmas Monday. You have a triple header on that Monday. And you then have games on Sunday, games on Saturday too. So the NFL has done some very interesting things with flex scheduling. And let's also remember that there could be flex scheduling for the Thursday night game. There could be some flexes in there, although I don't think there's going to be this year, but there's a possibility they could go to that in the future. I know there's flex scheduling for the Monday night game. I know that they have that this year too. And again, the only thing about that, and I if you have tickets for a game, you purchase tickets for a game, and you say, hey, it's going to be on a such and such, and then it becomes a night game, well, that screws with you. But again, if you're going to change from a Monday night to a Sunday afternoon, that's also a problem too. You say you buy the tickets for a Monday night. Yeah, Monday Night Football. Sunday afternoon. Oh boy. But I hate to say this, and I know, Mike, you're going to agree with me on this one. The NFL's in the business of making money. However they can make money, they'll make money. And the fans, while they talk a good game and say it's all about the fans, they don't care. I mean, I'm not trying to be crass here, but the NFL's about making money. It's about money. The Super Bowl is not for the fans. Super Bowl is a corporate game. Each team, the team that participates, get 5,000 tickets apiece. It's an 80,000 seat stadium. Okay. So and unfortunately, all sports is like that. I shouldn't single out football. Baseball, same thing. They don't care about the fans. They cared about the fans, they wouldn't have these $350, $400 seats behind home plate that nobody could afford to buy, and they're empty all the time because they sell them to corporate. That's one of the biggest knocks. Yankee Stadium, it always seems as empty behind home plate. Why? They're sold to corporates. The corporations say, who cares? I don't care. If somebody use them, yeah. If they don't, who cares?
But who cares about you here? Who cares about you? The Fantasy Sultans.
Yes,
we care about you. We are here for you. We are here for you always.
Yes. Fantasy Sultans. He is the Hall of Famer, Mike Scheck. I am Tripp Rogers. Love to hear your comments and questions. Feel free to email us. That's fantasysultans@gmail.com. Also, don't forget my other podcast is Tripp's Take. You can find it the same places you can find this, except for YouTube, because I don't have my podcast on YouTube, my video podcast on YouTube, but we do have it on Spotify for podcasters, Apple, Google, and iHeart, along with Amazon podcasts and Audible. Also, if you like the music of the 60s, 70s, and 80s, give a listen to WTRS Radio, powered by Live365.com. Join us again next week for another edition of the Fantasy Sultans. We always say it, and we mean it, and Mike said it just before this: care about you. We do this for you. We give you the info that'll help you win your league, and probably screw us along the way, because people hear what we have to say and then take our tips. I'm just saying that, we're giving this stuff away for free. We are the Fantasy Sultans.
And you are not.